Hare Krishna, it's a great privilege for us to welcome amongst us His Grace Tatvavarah Prabhu. If you think this place is cold, Prabhuji generally preaches in and is popular for his exploits in Prabhupada's movement from Finland, where practically it's almost like the midnight sun. So we welcome Tatvavarah Prabhu to shed the Bhagavad sun for us.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. His Grace Tatvavarah Prabhu ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai Ho Chai. Very nice to be here. I counted that this is my 100th visit in this temple. I came here always while transiting to Mayapur or Vrindavan or coming back, and I have to say that it has always very warm welcome. Like I feel like, greatly thankful for those seniors who ultimately, everybody but the seniors who ultimately build up. I remember when I came here, temple was just down in where the restaurant is now. And of course, His Grace Mahamantra, Prabhu, Gopal Krishna Maharaj, and many, many others did an amazing job. And now we can see here. And I heard that now temples are expanding like anything all over the Delhi. We just came from Rishikesh, where also there is such an, nice development there. One of the most blissful Kirtans you can have. If you like to have, you go to the Iskcon MVT restaurant Saturday night Kirtans. They're amazing. They're amazing. I came just like on Sunday program. They also had there about 200 people there. So without longer introduction, I think the translation is going there, so it's just going the same time. Devotees are mostly on book distribution marathon. I have to say that this is the first year during the last 30 years I will be not able to participate book distribution itself because I flipped from the bicycle and I hurt my knee. Otherwise, I have done 30 other distribution marathons always, whatever has been the other services. I have been regional leader and temple president, whatever. I never missed one marathon. This is the first one due to the sore knee. Jayo Radha Matava Kunjabi Hariyo Jayo Radha Matava Kunjabi Hariyo Jayo Kopi Chanavallabha Girivarada Hariyo Jayo Kopi Chanavallabha Girivarada Hariyo Yashodanandana Brajajana Rahanjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Rahanjana Yamuna Tira Vanachahariya Jayo Radha Matava Kunjabi Hariya Jayo Radha Matava Kunjabi Hariya Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Hey Jayo Prabhupada, Jayo Prabhupada, Jayo Prabhupada, Jayo Prabhupada, Jayo. Srila Prabhupada K. Jayo Vishpat Paramahansa Parikacharya. Stotrasta Shishimanam. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada K. Ananda Gati Vaishnava Ki, Namaste Srila Haridas Thakur Ki, Prem Chakot Chaitan Prabhu Nityananda Siyadvaita Karahara Sivasari Kaur Bhaktarinda Ki, Shurada Krishna Shyama Kundrada Kun Kirikavadan Ki, Vrindavan Dham Ki, Navadidam Ki, Yamuna Devi Ki, Bhakti Devi Ki, Tulsi Devi Ki, Brihadidanga Ki, Transcendental Book Distribution Ki, Srila Prabhupada Marathon Ki, Gaur Premanande. All glories to devotees. All glories. All glories. Sisi Guru and God. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, Narada Muni, cursed by Prajapati Daksha, Sristi Apraya Karimayam, Vedakulanta Vekitaham, Mattasyatam Avinasayam, Kim asat karma bir bhavet. Srishti, creation, apaya, dissolution, karim, one who causes, mayam, the illusory energy, velakult anta, near the banks, vegitam, being very rapid, mattasya, of one who is mad, tam, that material nature, avinasaya, who does not know, kim asat karma bhavet, what benefit can there be by performing temporary fruitive activities? Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Narada Muni had said that there is a river flowing in the both directions. The Haryavas understood the purport of this statement. Material nature functions in two ways, by creation and dissolution. Thus, the river of material nature flows both ways. A living entity who unknowingly falls in this river is submerged in its waves, and since the current is swifter near the banks of the river, he is unable to get out. What will be the benefit of performing fruitive activities in that? What will be the benefit of the performing fruitive activities in that river of Maya? Purport: one may be submerged in the waves of the river of Maya, but one may also get free from the waves of coming to the banks of knowledge and austerity. Near these banks, however, the waves are very strong. If one does not understand how he is being tossed by these waves, but simply engages in temporary fruitive activities, what benefit will he derive? In Brahma Samhita 544, there is this statement: Srishti Sthiti Pralaya Sadhana Sakti Eka, that Maya Sakti Durga is in charge of the Srishti Sthiti Pralaya, creation and dissolution, and she acts under the direction of the Supreme Lord. When one falls into the river of nescience, he is always tossed here and there by the waves, but the same Maya can also save him from when he surrenders to Krishna or becomes Krishna conscious. Krishna conscious is knowledge and austerity. A Krishna conscious person takes knowledge from the Vedic literature, and at the same time he must practice austerities. To attain freedom from material life, one must take to Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, if one very busily engages in the so-called advancement of science, what benefit will he derive? If one is carried away by the waves of the nature, what is the meaning of being a great scientist or philosopher? Mundane science and philosophy are also material creations. One must understand how Maya works and how one can be released from the tossing waves of the river of these nescience. This is one's first duty. There is a famous story in when you go to the Navadvip Mandal Parikram. How many of us has gone there? Yeah, I counted. I did that 20 times, and it's somehow or another even, it gets like, these stories and like that. One is related to this is that when Mother Parvati, she saw her husband chanting on the great ecstasy, she went there and was like, kind of, what are you chanting? And that's actually mentioned in Parvati Purana also, that she kind of a little doubts, because woman has a little this tendency that she kind of asks, when Lord Shiva is explaining that, am I not the kind of the center or the supreme? I mean, that's the female kind of a condition which has to be. But then she follows her husband and goes to because Lord Shiva is in full ecstasy, chanting actually Gauranga. So then she goes there and chants for a while, and then Lord is appearing in the form of Gauranga. And then he said, "Dear mother, how can I help you?" And she said, "Well, I have one problem, because all the saints, they just try to avoid me. They don't like to even come near me. They say that, she's such a witch," even she used this term. So then Lord Chaitanya is saying, "Well, dear mother, you have forgot one thing. You and my internal energy are the same." So Prabhupada is saying that a little poetic ways. He says that she's actually the shadow face of Srimati Radharani. So if you go to Kurukshetra, for example, you see this fearful form of Durga with 10 hands, and she has like, she's like a modern day punk rock girl, but her shirt is actually just those hands, which is the skeletons, like, the bones of those persons who has been trying to approach her, and she has cut those hands away, and that's her actually shirt, it's quite a, she has quite a specific fashion in general. I mean, not many, like people are always kind of trying to make some stories in the mundane world, but who, for example, rides on the tiger full naked? That's actually her. So she's doing quite far out things. So, but she's there just to cut their heads off. And why she's doing that? Because in Lord Chaitanya, in that discussion, says, your role is just to keep those rascals away or bothering me. So that's her mission. And there is even a story near the Ganga where she happened to go to listen to the saint's lecture. And then what happened was that some, we could say, rascals came there just when anybody can walk near the Ganga. And she was absorbed to the lecture, but then she understood her Dharma point, and immediately those people find something else to do. So that is actually her function. So she always figures as something else to do than what we are supposed to do. Well, what we are supposed to do has to relate it with our Varna and Ashram, but I'm just saying that that's then Varna and Ashram Dharmas. But that's there. So then we still have to kind of consider, well, there is so much described on this mundane world. If this is just waste of time, one sense, and even they say this is Maya, then why there is so much like that? Prabhupada is making interesting point in second canto. He said there are two lilas. There is the lila of Krishna, means Krishna lila, and there is the lila of creation. And guess what he says, what is more important? We could consider Vrindavan is so nearby and, it's like overwhelming, but he's saying that the lila of creation is more important. It's quite a little we may consider, but it's not on-off. It's not that we don't care about, but like Prabhupada even made Mayapur Vrindavan festival, Mayapur first and like that. Nowadays, always it happens, and I don't say always, but I know quite many times it happens, of course, Vrindavan first, but the proper mood is established in Mayapur, which is the mood of glorification, and then we hopefully in one day are eligible to reach Vrindavan in the proper mood. So then, why is it so? That's, we just spoke, the morning lecture in Rishikesh was about Satur Slokas. And I mean, we once studied in Mayapur 1.5 months with 4 slokas, these 4 slokas. I did those 12 years, what you could do, but that was only, and that was just, how would I say, you could continue forever. So there is one verse which says that basically I'm just making my nutshell kind of a, wherever your attraction is, or wherever people's attraction is, from that point you have to connect them back. So now you may think, oh my God, hopefully old Tattva doesn't speak now some preaching or something. No, I don't say that. But Krishna is still saying that wherever your attraction is, like we were just with my wife taking Panchakarma in cold climate, like I've been preaching there in Finland the last over 3 decades. I mean, you need some recovery, and like that. So that was very helpful. So the doctor who is coming from the traditional background, he doesn't speak only like, just, 5 aspects to be purified and the whole thing. He speaks about spiritual Ayurveda, meaning like useless waste of time, even the Panchakarma, if you are not harmony with the Lord's desire, like he said. He's coming from Sanatana Dharma background. His father was Sanatana Dharma priest there, and all brothers, they have still joint families and like that, so it's traditional. So he said, and that means that you are then on harmony with the 5 elements. Like this morning, the Pujari and our nice Pujari from Latvia, he did, he offered 5 elements back to the Lord. So, similar way, we have to be in harmony with those 5 elements, which ultimately are coming to our body. I don't give now Ayurveda lecture either, but just to say that harmony is ultimately find in the, unified desire, that we kind of please the Lord. So he said, human life is anyhow always a stressful situation. You can't avoid that. I mean, here, thousands of New Age lectures, they always try to, well, I have not done that, but I preach in those forums also sometimes. I mostly preach all these last 30 years in universities and colleges. I still do that. I mean, 80 institutes which I go regularly, but now Corona time has been a little difficult time. So, but if you go to the New Age groups and like that, they're always like, just relax, just, but I sometimes challenge them. I said, I don't say it now exactly those words, but what are you meaning by those, My life, at least what I have felt, it has the stress element you can't avoid. And that's the sastric point, you can't avoid. But you can tolerate if you are in harmony with the Lord. But if you are not, it's intolerable like that. So in that sense, what we have to do, we have to, in that sense, while pleasing the Lord, find, how would I say the electrical term, find the right tune, find the right frequency. We can be pleasing the Lord in the longer run. That's also there, in the longer run. So therefore, Krishna is saying, be balanced with recreation, with studies, with eating, sleeping, all that. So he's speaking about long-term result. I mean, we did that classical mistake. The whole world has to be in late 80s, early 90s. The whole world, the Third World War will start, and the whole, and marathon after marathon, marathon after, there was 7 marathons a year, and it took about, how long? It took basically the year. It's just a warm-up marathons and then the marathons and like that. So I don't say nothing against it, I just said that be balanced. Just take my advice, be balanced. Otherwise, there will be some challenges later on with health. So then it comes, but people are interested, if Sadhu Sloka said, wherever they're interested, they're not even interested in Krishna consciousness. So then how far we can go? There you have to find your Varna and Ashram limits. You can't just like, I've been a lot in Mumbai. 7 years I was there always, 1 month before the Korapuram, because Radhanath Maharaj says, he just captures, you are there in the Chaitanya Lila, you kind of become addicted, you can't avoid that. So, but it's very degraded city at the same time, and seeing now Delhi, it's already getting the same. So then there is no limit how far we can go. So we have to find what is New Agers are saying, our comfortable, don't stretch too much. But wherever your ashram and varna kind of allows, basically if you are grihastha, wherever your wife allows you to extend your preaching, you do that, but not like, that. Like I remember when that verse was first time spoken to some Sankirtan devotees, we found them in pubs in the evening to distribute books and like that. I said, stop it. But wherever people's interests are anywhere, but we don't go to take too much risks, so save yourself first. But it's basically that the point is that without interest, people don't operate. That's the whole thing. So we have to kind of see what is the kind of, we could say, field of interest. What I spoke with Kavichan Maharaj, we have like all the, he said, with the bridge thing, bridge preaching, he said, yeah, there are many bridges, but they have been like in India, you know, that they were trying to build a bridge from Kesikata to the other side. It's never coming there. So many bridges, they kind of, well, there is something to do with corruption. I know that quite well because I was working one period or few periods of attaché of Indian ambassador. So India is quite special. So the money somehow or another goes before that. So bridges are falling down, and now I didn't even saw almost nothing there anymore. So it's better to stay on the safety side and speak the Sanatana Dharma principle, but like Srila Prabhupada is saying, palatable truths. Meaning like, you know, you don't unnecessarily agitate the near people who doesn't know anything. Like I'm lecturing in universities, I don't know. I mean, if I not have done 10,000 lectures, not one, all around him, but invited to do that based on the topic they have. So can't just, they said, you know, it's a comparison between Indian traditional and Western philosophers. So you can't just take some verse and just, like old times, they sometimes debate with atheists, just put the loudspeaker louder, or you go to parikrams there and Govardhan, and like that. They just put the loudspeaker louder. Well, it's recorded, but still you say that. And it's strong preaching because the volume is strong. But it's not really strong preaching. The strong preaching is trying to catch in the point they are and try to get them back, but from the Sanatana Dharma principle, from that level. So in our own scriptures, Prabhupada was teaching what is called, he gave the 7 days course in Vrindavan called Srimad Bhagavatam Discourse. And he teaches us how to preach. He said, Panchanyaya, the 5 limbs of logic, is the one. So the first is you give the sloka like we do now. But then he often says, but someone may doubt. He gave the counter sloka. And then he is giving examples which are supporting the sloka itself. And then he is trying to make what we call the synthesis, that he's trying to combine. Like let's say the broken watch is 2 times right per day. So we could say in one sense that 2 times it was right. 2 times, you know, time is soon 8:30 and the broken watch says the same. But it's not the whole truth. The whole other day, again, once again, is right. So the synthesis is supposed to combine that, I would like to say, your stupid doubt or your doubt was part of the bigger picture. Here's the bigger picture. And then we give this, back again we come to the conclusion which has to be the same sloka we started. We have to come to the same conclusion. And then the application. So this is between this 4th and the 5th, like many times then what we call the deviations happens. We don't come back to the same conclusions where Prabhupada is there and where we are supposed to be. But what is our role? Like in electricity, I don't know what is that English word, but because my background is military office, I'm major from, I'm still working a little because our dear neighborhood are giving us quite some challenges. So I have to study in the anti-aircraft a lot of electricity things. It's basically mathematics and electricity a lot. So there is this, I don't know what is the English word, modificator, which modifies the electricity which comes in this form. Yeah, modern. Yeah, and then it makes it like it comes out the other. So we have to basically modify the eternal Sanatana Dharma principle the way that people are understanding that. So that's when you hear sometimes lecturers are saying, does it make sense? So then you clarify that. You clarify so that it makes sense. And sometimes we think the other way. The more we preach, the better. But it's actually the way that you preach just that much that people can understand. Because if you preach more than that, you may feel great, yeah, I did 2.5 hour lecture, but nobody understood after 1.5 hour, nothing. So no, then it creates more doubts. So it's not good. So therefore you see Prabhupada's formula, he gives very short lectures actually, in general. They are not like these 2.5 hour, marathon lectures. But I mean, of course, with closed audience, like His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj, he can give 4-hour lecture, you don't feel sleep, you feel you are there. I mean, there is exceptions when there is special personalities. Then you are just 4 hours in Chaitanya Lila, fine. But in general, from our capacity, it's like, can be quite short. Like in university, I lecture a lot these educational departments. There is a saying, 20 minutes you can talk, that's all. 20 minutes. And that's almost like the previous statistics. Now people are just, what is this? This concentration kind of what is ADHD, what is that, when people don't, yeah. So it's basically people are like that. They are like, even during that time, they many times. So I have learned now, most of the lectures you do in university, they are 2 times 45 straight. But 20 minutes you have to give the point. Then you still continue. So what I normally do, I show some pictures here from India. And then I come to the point from different angle. But you have to, so that's quite a sutra form things, has to be said. People are not able, and it gets worse and worse. Here you just get some glimpses. If I would tell you some stories from the Western, my wife is a teacher in the college of linguistic teacher. I mean, it's getting really crazy. It's getting really crazy. It's, anyhow, I don't go much. But I would like to say that then our point is to educate people with the steps they can take. So, like if you study the word education, it comes from educare. It means to reveal what is already within us. So that means ultimately those good qualities which Prabhupada is listing. But it also means that as a spirit soul, once we were there. So it's kind of just covered. Well, quite a long time ago, if it comes to me at least. But once we were there, and in that sense, it's just these upadis which are there. So mantra is one of the strongest to take away these upadis, like it's like kind of they are there. Association is very strong, and the devotional service itself. So then cover after cover we take them a little, but education is the common accepted media. That's like, in Finland we got these rights we were pushing with the ambassador of India, who's now retired. I know many of these IF officials. I have sometimes brought them here. This evening I'm also tried to bring one whom I was actually serving. So they have this, they have their own systematic studies is there. They have even the political science and all that. But they always bring still, things which are like they bring the Niti Shastras and like that. And the further you go in history, it was still bringing like Krishna back. So the education, like I found it, this one, he was a bit atheist. But when you start to speak him, the Krishna consciousness. There it was, just a little under the skin, and then you speak more, and then it's there, and like that. So in that way, the background of all of us is that Krishna consciousness is basically our basis consciousness. So education is supposed to take these by systematic way, and therefore Prabhupada is emphasizing that in 7 purposes of Iskcon. So we have to bring them nearer to Krishna. In the forums, of course, it doesn't have to be university where you go to preach. It can be also in their homes and namahatas and like that, but systematically. And then, step by step. Like I said, we emphasized that Krishna conscious religion studies in Finland with Mr. Gupta, and we got it. In Finland, it's official studies in the school to study their own religion. It's the only country in the world. But it was not an easy thing. I was 2 years in Finnish parliament lobbying 100 different, And guess how ultimately the final decision was done? This is a little interesting. One day on the book distribution, I met one lady who was just very much in stress, but I could see this is high-class lady. I said, you look like a leader. He said, how did you know? I said, well, I recognized myself, being also government officers, they basically recognize the others. So she said, we had a half an hour discussion, although she was all the time like, we were near the parliament. I didn't know that she's one of the prominent members of parliament. And she took few books there. I can't remember, 1 or 2. I think that I remember, first canto she took, at least. And she said, this was the best discussion. You really uplifted me. I was really like that. Then few years back, then later on, I went to Parliament. I was invited there as a special advisor for these new laws they made. So for a few years, I was at the same time teaching in one college in Rupanuka Vedic College in America, and going back and forth. I was visiting professor there, and it's not that shortcut road, from New York to Helsinki. It takes quite the jet lag and going and this and that. And then I went to the parliament, one of those meetings, and I said, I need to meet the person who is in charge of the constitutional laws when they made those basic laws. And I called her and she said, I know you. And I said, okay. Well, she said, I said, if you can recognize me, she said, I will recognize you. And then she came, and it was the same lady. She was the chair of the Constitution, and she ultimately stamped. She ultimately made the whole. So, book distribution always gives result. You never know exactly like that. Of course, I was pushed to the parliament by this Mr. O.B. Gupta. He's still somewhere here, the Ayurvedic College headmaster and retired as he was. I have officer 4.5 years in Finland. So we had such a relation. He said, never ask when you can come here. We had, anytime I came to Helsinki, he said, just come there and we chat, because he wrote the books about Vedas, and then he made questions and answers about Bhagavad Gita in his official web pages of embassy. So only those he said, I can do. I'm the most senior. This is my last period. Doesn't matter what they say. Because later on, if the new ones are coming, they are so afraid, what they can do. And like that, especially if they are ladies, they are very careful. But he didn't mind. So he went to Finnish parliament, the whole government. He went there, and he always used me the word Swami. I definitely not, but he said, you look not happy. And they were looking at him. But I have you some solution. Go to Swami Tatvavarah's temple, chant Hare Krishna mantra, and you will be happy. So that is the way is actually, and he was proud enough. And funnily, people didn't resist him. I said, what did Prime Minister said? He looked me a little like amused but respectful. And they start to, by the way, sometimes come to our programs like that. So, but better to go to them, like you do the home programs, better to go. Like we just met with my wife, all the VIPs. I mean, I know them all up to the president. I was 3 years as colleague of him. I was trustee of Academic Union, he was our lawyer and like that. So I know them like that. So, but it's better to go to their homes, not making them to be like, you know, that they have to. Maybe here in India, I don't know. Here you, Mahamantra, and they have brought always those prominent persons here. But in our countries, they prefer to stay a little backside, and then you can have a trustable discussions. And then they are effective to the laws. We got, like some years back, we got an, which is now the value of 4.2 million euros, manor and land from the city of Helsinki by having, first we were in court case with them, then it was the whole fight with media and everything, because I have a lot of media connections. And you know, it was but in one point, some ministers were on other side. They were like, you know, heavily that, what about this, the foreign, like they considered Iskcon that time like we are foreigners or something. Oh no, we are locals all there basically, but like that. And then I wrote to President, I said, do now something to this. This is getting too much. And then we got the place. But he didn't came more than one comment to the publicity, and the other he did on his own ways. So we have to kind of consider these elements, you know, being subtle with that. That's all. Like I asked from another ambassador who was training all the Indian ambassadors here in Chennai or somewhere, they have the place where they are training them and send them. I said, what is the main quality? He said, sensitiveness. He said, that's the whole. Diplomacy is about sensitiveness. I saw that, you know, when we met those mayors and like that, they had some aim what they were looking for. But it was that they let first the mayor talk. Then when the mayor said, would you like to have an international school for your kids? Then he said, that's what we are wanting. That's what we want. So it's kind of this, you learn that from book distribution as well. If you just preach to them, I mean, doesn't give, but you have to listen also to them. And then we have here is nowadays this red light and green light, you know. You have to have a green light. Otherwise you can try to put like the whole, you know, Bhagavatam there, but it doesn't get nowhere. So that has to be there. But we have to train because it's getting like a little degraded. If in Finland, we have now 200 students in 4 different cities there, basically Indian kids. But salary paid is the teacher. He's teaching Krishna religion, it's called. It's government stamped curriculum, salary full paid. I was pushing that, but I was also some year now teaching that one teacher was missing. And like that, we are looking forward to other cities, and it's as equal as Christianity and the others, but they have to be members of Iskcon, the first 3 ones to start that. That's all. Full credit, it's 2 hours per week. Like Christianity has the same and like that. Yeah, it's a whole curriculum including the good lifestyle, which is our moral standards. Everything is there up to the 4 regulative principles. But you can't make them practice. But there is one thing I said to the parliament, you can say whatever you like, but if they listen, they are already practicing Sravanam. Otherwise they should say, you know, like we should say, well, Sravanam, you know, but they can't remember, so we can't ask them anything from in exam. We just put their form, but that's actually Sravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. So that level, but we can't give them chapamala to their hand. That is like that they have to do at home. So that kind of, that's for everybody like that. It's just, I told this story in Rishikesh, but I'm ending just saying that because otherwise the mundane education start to sneak in. There's the story, I can't remember whom Sannyas I heard that, but there is a story from India of the inspector who came to the schools and like, at least maybe here, but we used to have old times, they just step in some point and they were there. And he asked, it was a lecture of history and Ramayana, so he asked that, just like to make question, who broke Lord Shiva's bow? And then there was, of course, teacher and headmaster, they were looking, and then everybody, the class, they were looking one naughty boy. And the boy, oh, it was not me, it was not me. And then they start to, the students were helpless because they have never heard about that as part of the history. And they were looking the teacher, and teacher said, me no either, I didn't done that, I didn't done that. And then they were all start to look the headmaster who was in the corner. And he said, well, it was not me either, it may be on some other class, it can be anybody. He said, but, and then the inspector was already looking quite desperately. And he said, but do not worry, school will pay. So that's how it goes. And my wife could tell many stories. She's from Sweden. We live in Finland. They are nearby. They used to be actually the same country in the old history. So there's just one ferry and like that. So, but it's getting really degraded. I can't even tell in the Bhagavatam lecture what is happening in those schools. But I can tell that when I was last time there, one of the last times in her home city, which is called Malmö, in South Sweden. She's heading that Iskcon community there as well, although from Finnish side. So goes there regularly, and there was, it's a business college. It should be quite high class. And we came there, and there was, this guardian has been knocked down. He was actually a Finnish man, but was not died. Everybody was, the police cars everywhere. Everybody has escaped to the classroom. One boy just threatened everybody, say he will kill everybody. And like that. She said every 3 months, somebody shoot it. I gave last time Janmastami lecture nearby. That was not the school. It's the biggest shopping mall in the Scandinavia called Empuria. And I said, well, it's quite respectful that you are welcoming, they're welcoming us by shooting. Because those mafiosos, they are fighting between each other. And there was 100, nothing less, 100 police cars around the Empuria because some mafiosos has been killed each other. And in schools, many of them are getting extra incomes by selling trucks. So, and that's just a small thing. They are killing teachers. Therefore, she actually skipped that. She is now doing, we do direct preaching, but also some preaching related to the business in Finland because it's too dangerous. I should get my military bullet leaves, to the teacher and the helmet and everything like that. It's getting really serious. So that's what we are getting from mundane education. So if you have some challenges, like sometimes, traditional Indian, how they call it in universities, gurukuls may have, it's nothing compared what you will have if you don't have it. I'm just sorry to say. There are serious threats. I was once, I can tell you this, I was once in Radha 1994, invited by the Radha what is called Radha convention, something like that, in Belgium. Because I had already that time lot of connections. I've been working as freelancer besides my military things and like that. And so they invited, they said, this is just a facade, this Radha. Our real aim is to kick out the old traditional style of education from Iskcon and established with the so-called Brahminical liberal education. There you see, go to ask from my wife, where does it end? My secretary, one Mataji, I was heading Yatra, whatever those few decades, so she was half part of that. So she went once to teach in international school in Mayapur, and she said one of the problems were that when the afternoon start to come, some of the students were so drunken that they fall through the ceiling. Radha desk has to be closed. We had also Bhaktivedanta college from Hungary, has to be basically closed because they have, they are finding their students every now and then. I got it directly from Yadunanda Maharaj, who was the headmaster. We were colleagues. I was headmaster of Bhaktivedanta College, Finland. So it has to be closed because they were found from so many different beds. You understand what I mean? They had illicit affairs so much they have to make it just online. So that is the modern Western education. If we have some challenges, Prabhupada gave us this task to train people, so we have to just face those challenges without trying to kick out everything like that. It's aim. I don't like to speak politics, but there are persons who find, quite easily the commonalities between some tax against the big Indian guru with 10,000 disciples and someone who has been dedicated the life for education there in Gurukuls, and next is now I heard Bhakti Purushottam Maharaj and like that. Just do their own math. There is maybe something else going on than these, few small things which they try to tackle. So if you don't have the tradition is gone. Even Putin, I have to know, it has been not mentioned I thought I will go maybe to the yellow pages. I'm the person who put him 2 times to jail. Because he was KGB chief in Finland, we knew that, but he said he's something else. He was deputy mayor or something, and he came to spy. I was the commanding officer of this, they call this Royal Rapid Forces. So we have to, when Soviet was on the way to collapse, we have to all the time, they were coming with aircrafts, they were coming with submarines, with spies and like that. He was heading many of the operations. So we put him every now and then to jail. Still, he founded, even now in St. Petersburg, he founded the boarding schools for the girls only. And they will be the ones who are then married with the military officers, because he understood that tradition can't go on with these modern Western ways. So every clever person understands. So I'm just saying that, hopefully not like too strongly, that tradition requires systematic education. It doesn't have to be everybody going to boarding school. You can train in Namahatta, but without education. Why Prabhupada is making that every second sentence in 7 principles of Iskcon, purposes of Iskcon is like that. Because now they are distributing, I heard 200 devotees, that's glorious, are going out with books. That's the beginning, but if you think, university, they deliver the books in the beginning. But it's not that, oh, now it's done. I'm now PhD of psychology. They said, come on. They don't know the word sahaja. But it's much bigger work. I mean, personally, I have distributed maybe, personally, I don't know. I mean, by guiding the yatra, we distributed, in Finnish yatra, altogether we have distributed 5.6 million people, 1 million books has been distributed like that. That's quite many in the sense that families are 2 million, so every second family has. But that's just the beginning. Even in the deity form, that's just, the attraction form is one. Then you have to, there's Madama, and there's the whole thing, that would be another lecture. But then the education is the tough part, and Prabhupada is saying that's the biggest austerity of life. Celibacy is nothing compared to education. That is a big austerity for those who are teaching, those who are taking that, and everybody. I mean, it's easy. Any other thing is easier. So, but without that, that gives like an, you know, like these Germans were using this, how you say this, you know, mark to the skin which is burned there by fire like that. Because that austerity gives also like, you know, you don't like to give it up anymore. You did so much austerity. So in that sense, but here in the verse it's mentioned, if it goes in vain, if it's not connected to the Lord, it's just useless waste of time. So therefore that is in our terms called avidya. So vidya becomes when you connect. So therefore try to see connection everywhere, and that requires a lot of studies. Like we studied in Mayapur, Bhaktivedanta Academy, all these years, you know, even how you can see the Lord, even when you see the nearest bus going like that. The fine, like Volvo coach, you know, that fine form of that, it's actually nothing else than Lakshmi. The power which moves that's Narayana. And like, you know, you see the nice decoration of this, you know, this place on houses, that's similar way, that's Lakshmi, and the erection power which keeps this building together, that's Narayan. But we can't see them more than that way, therefore it said, do you see? It doesn't mean when we explain that our eyes became like kind of eyesight a little better, like in some Netradarpanam Panchakarma treatment. No, it means that, do you understand? So that is the main point of the whole thing. So when we that way educate people, then they start to, oh, there is superior, there is supreme, then how we can serve. Like I ended by saying that I was lecturing in the most, that's called Mensa group in the University of Helsinki. Yeah, they are the most, oh, they are really high. At least they, and then that was a funny thing. I came directly here, because this is normally, and I came directly to the lecture, and they have smashed some pseudo something, this and that, and scientists, and then they were like, there was the head of the skepsis there, which is the skeptical persons, engineer with tires, they were like ready to like fight with me. And then he stand up after 10 minutes or 15 minutes, he said, now I tell you everybody, I like to say something. I said, he will said, go out and don't listen to this. He said, this is real knowledge. This is the knowledge how it is. And that was quite amazing, but it took some logical steps, you know, introducing the Vedas, like that what are the, you know, Vedic 14 literature and like that. You couldn't start with chant like that. So then in the end, one PhD lady, very like, you know, dressed very fancy way, and she came and said, I understood every word you said. I really appreciate. But tell me now that how she can keep her, what you said, the ashram, like the place of living, shelter, what she can do, because, I mean, just to see the decoration and that, she understands shelter, but how to do? I said, well, does she has any problems of keeping it clean? She said, mother said, all the time. I said, just, you know, keep it clean. Keep the place clean, keep the ashram clean, and you are serving Lakshmi Narayan. So she jumps, she said, this will I now, this will I now keep on telling. So we have to kind of catch their, how would I say, frequency, and different audience, different frequency. But if you meet highly intelligent person, consider sensitively what they can digest. Okay, it's already soon prasadam time, so otherwise, like Prabhupada is saying in the purport, what will be the benefit of performing fruitive activities in the river of Maya? Yeah, so if we are not connected, we are disconnected, then we are Maya. Otherwise, there is no Maya, there is just Maya. Then it changed the meaning, my energy. Otherwise, it's like we know, illusion. Any questions or comments? Please, sir.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for your nice lecture. So you mentioned that to keep alive traditional is the only way for the education. But if you look at that today's age, in the modern age, it's very difficult for one to keep alive a tradition because the new technology is coming, new innovation is happening.
Yeah.
And even in Iskcon also,
Yeah.
the people are adopting new way of getting things done and all that. So how do we keep in that way, how do we keep our tradition alive?
If you mean that how do we keep ourselves in the middle of them? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say that that's a very good question and broad enough for the whole further discussion. But Prabhupada is saying that we have to have a dominating position. It doesn't mean that we are directly the leaders of the society in the sense of, we could say, direct hierarchy. But people are looking for us that we have something more. He said, the leadership is based on, I wrote one book also called Vedic Leadership and Management. Leadership is based on being inspired yourself and inspiring the others. So if you see those great, persons like, whoever, they are always, they are somehow or another inspired of something. And by that they are inspiring the others. So we have to somehow or another keep that connection, which in Krishna consciousness keeps us inspired. And then people will follow. They are, like Swatmara said, I was initiated by him, he's already gone, and nowadays, it's already gone 2007, but of course we take Siksha from other Iskcon gurus. He said that the transcendental technique is that you please the Lord and you will shine like the diamond on the crown of the Lord. And those who are innocent, they come to you. And those who are inimical, they avoid you. So we have to always, but the problem is that in modern days, it happened after Harikesh left, that the shelters, the fences were a little down. We have a lot of those entities and elements inside our own movement, which used to be staying outside, which were called anti-cultists, or we call in our terms Kalichelas and Rakshasas and like that. I even heard, I don't tell that. If we discuss on, it's just two non-Vedic stories, but there are crazies who write in the makes sense way, because nobody can check who they actually even are. And at the same time, when I discussed with that person, she said that she was actually thinking that even some sannyasis are eating children and like that. So they are just crazy. But what is that kind of person who has such an emotions towards that kind of, it's called Rakshasa. But they are inside our own movement. That's the problem. So we have to be a bit, nowadays, a bit taking that Brahma, Madhva, Acharya, Madhva Sampradayas, the Madhva is this fist. I don't say that I'm boxing trainer, I don't use it that way. But I'm just saying that we have to be a little aware that not everything, like in military we had a saying, the second day training in our military was that 90% of the information you hear from battlefield is wrong. And of course, Finnish application was still added, and 100% coming from our east neighbor. So that is, and nowadays, after Corona, everybody believes anything they write in internet. Where is that? In our country, it's 12 years old girl who is already learning the media criticism better than the others. And they believe basically anything. So it's just craziness. So one thing I think we can't stay inspired of trusting untruth. I mean, it was clear. If I like to meet president, I don't write him more than can we meet. I go and meet him. When you meet the person, it's sometimes completely different. I could tell hundreds of stories about that, like, they were trying to, people are, but what happened, like, I'm shocked what happened in few years in this Corona times. Now the truth is in internet. It's like, I could still have to practice austerity. It was mentioned here to not to tell these stories in the seat, but basic rule is being inspired and inspiring, then the others, people will follow who are not too inimical. And we have to tolerate that many have a different view. We just let them go. I have never been stopped in once doing lecture in universities, but there has been quite heavy conflicts, not only with Christians, with anti-cultists, with whatever cultures, and sometimes they are dressed like a devotees. That's also there. So it's I don't know how many fights we have done. It's just unlimited. It's just, and just recently it was one university thing, and they tried to change the whole thing completely. We were lecturing there with Bhaktivedanta, and it was, former, and it was in Helsinki, and he made really good strong points. He went really good strong points, and then they said that, well, this, now in Finland, this law, for example, that they can study their own religion, this is against that human rights. We can't And I said, are you ladies, she was some professor, are you trying to tell that we made illegal law? Because we made that law. And then she figured out, oh, he's one of the lawmakers. Then she just ran away. But she just ran away. Directly she ran away. Not that she took just her handbag, whatever, and ran and never came back. They are just trying some kind of things, but it sounds very emotionally. Oh, they made this law is illegal. Like I said, so you have to be prepared that they always. Sotomayor teach me one thing, karate tactics, and said they may say some point which you don't even exactly catch. Hit the point just immediately, otherwise they just roll over, and then correct it a little bit. So that's there. Hopefully that, just a simple, because that's what Prabhupada is saying. I think we have to aim for the breakfast and like that, so sorry if it took a little overtime, but I appreciate this. I don't know, like I said, how many times, but my travel now in India, that's 49th time now. So I've been really, we were 3 years, the corona rules were so tomorrow we are going to Tirupati. We are going to spend the whole winter there, and you may think, India it has many things, but when you are, like I used to come twice a year here, and for 3 years has not come, it's such a relief, India is still far beyond all the other. Whatever, like England has this saying, that with all its faults, I still love it. So I would say that with India, it's still, it's far beyond. Better to fight it here, and I would say, I'm not welcoming you to the West. I'm not welcoming. We are under war, by the way, now, so it's not also even safety. Srila Prabhupada ki, Iskcon Nitai ki, Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki, Gaur Premanande.